Chapter 24. My name isn't Doreen. An hour later, it was time for lunch. Nobody had really won British Tortoise. Benny had wandered off the playground towards the patchy grass area in search of patchy grass, basically, which meant that the kids' team had to follow him there. Then Benita had been frightened by all the noise and just retreated into her shell, which meant the teachers had to curl up into little balls with their hands over their heads at the other end of the playground. But it had been funny, and everyone, even Mr. Barrington, had sort of enjoyed it. In the lunch hall, the dinner ladies were lined up with their silver trays and big spoons as usual. The children were all wanting to get their food as usual. Unusually, though, Mr. Carter was standing in front of the dinner ladies, dressed as a chef. Proper posh, old style French one, with a tall white hat and an apron and an enormous spoon. Okay, good work there on the playground. Who won, Mr. Carter? Announced Alfie Moore. The kids or the teachers? I'd say the tortoises. But now I know you will have built up an appetite, so I want you to enjoy your lunch. In particular, some small changes I've made to your lunch options. This led to a buzz of chatter around the hall. Morris, what day is it? Mr. Carter continued. Fair enough. Barry, Monday. Correct. And what's on the menu on Monday? Stew and mash. A groan mix of went round the hall. Not exactly correct, or at least I would say not on the menu on Monday. It's not stew and mash, but poo and mash. A very big laugh went round the hall, particularly years 1, 2 and 3, for whom anything to do with poo and wee made them go mad with laughter. So, Mr. Carter turned to one of the dinner ladies, a very stout one with a brick of grey hair covered in a plastic net. If you don't mind, Doreen. My name isn't Doreen, it's Lisa. Oh, right, sorry. You just gave me the name that sounds like a dinner lady. I did, you're absolutely right. So, Lisa, could you uncover today's main course? Lisa nodded to herself and then with a tiny bit of flourish, placed her hand on top of the stainless steel cover and lifted it to reveal stew. A groan of disappointment went round the room. But what kind of stew is it, Lisa? Mr. Carter held up the tray. Let me give you a clue. What's the best thing about cake, particularly when your mum or dad, no sexism please, are making a cake? Anyone? Sam Green, you've eaten a few cakes. The mix. Mr. Carter put his index finger on his nose and pointed at Sam with his other index finger, which meant that Sam had got it right. He then twirled the little finger round and flicked the food in the tray, which was, as it turned out, cake mix stew. All the children in the hall cheered. Mr. Carter lifted his finger, coated with cake mix stew, high up in the air, threw his head back and opened his mouth wide and dived his finger into his mouth. He said, slurping out again. Delish. What to go with it? Lisa lifted the top of the other stainless steel container. Mash. What kind of mash, though? Lisa lifted her ice cream scoop. Ice cream mash, which is basically just ice cream in the potato tray. I always hoped those ice cream scoops would one day be used for the real thing, said Mr. Carter. He turned to another dinner lady standing further down the serving table. And for dessert, Doreen. My name isn't Doreen either. It's Lysinqua. Sorry, Lysinqua. Well, it's quite hard to think of a dessert that can follow cake mixed stew and ice cream mash. You'd think so, wouldn't you? But you insisted, so it's just... She moved the top of her container with slightly less of a flourish than Lisa. Sweets. Loads of sweets. Every sweet you can think of, including sour sweets, queried Barry Bennett. Oh, yes, Barry, said Mr. Carter, including Haribo Tang-Tastics. And it was indeed a huge tray of sweets of all sorts in their wrappers. Twisters, Twixes, Mars bars, Boosts, Aeros, Airwaves, Chomps, Buttons, Juicy Fruits, and yes, Haribo Tang-Tastics. And Topics and Flakes and Drumsticks and Starbursts and Toffee Crisps, Curly Whirlies, Double Deckers, Smarties, Bounties, even though no one liked them. That was it. That was the hugest cheer so far from the dinner hall, and all the Bracket Wood pupils charged towards their lunch in a way that no teacher had ever seen before. There was a scramble for the sweets, with lots of children falling over each other as they went for dessert first. It became a massive free-for-all, with no one even waiting for the dinner ladies to serve anything. Every pair of hands was just grabbing and grabbing and grabbing. Stop! Shouted a voice very loudly. and her voice was so commanding, so grown-up sounding, even though it clearly belonged to a child, that amazingly everybody did. I wonder who that person was. Find out next time.